Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're exploring something, well, incredibly accessible, something we all experience every day, yet its power for our well-being is often maybe underestimated. Everyday gratitude.
Right.
Forget those grand thank yous for major life events. We're talking about the quiet appreciation for the small, seemingly insignificant, positive moments that, weave through our days.
Like the sun's warmth, maybe. Or a comforting hug.
Exactly. Or that first sip of coffee, a moment of calm. It's really about shifting our focus, isn't it? Away from chasing achievements and material things.
And more towards noticing and valuing the good that's, well, already there.
Yeah.
What's fascinating is how easily these little moments just slip by unnoticed. I mean, our brains are kind of wired to scan for threats. It's a survival thing.
The negativity bias.
Exactly. But constantly focusing on what's wrong or missing, well, it can blind us to the good stuff all around us. So tuning into these little things, it's not about being, overly optimistic or ignoring problems. It's more a concrete way to be present. More present, yeah.
And build a stronger foundation for feeling good overall. Think about the simple lift you get from hearing a favorite song or just seeing a friendly smile. When we actually acknowledge these moments, they really can brighten our day.
Exactly. And in this deep dive, we're going to unpack the essence of this everyday gratitude, peek into the psychology behind it, and uncover the surprising ways it benefits our minds, our bodies, and our social connections.
Sounds good.
We'll also look at practical ways you can bring more of it into your daily life and see how this subtle shift in what we pay attention to can lead to, well, greater contentment and stronger relationships.
We should probably also touch on how it helps in real life and maybe some of the, challenges people might face.
Good point. Yeah, our goal is really to highlight the powerful impact of finding thankfulness and joy in the ordinary positive bits of our day.
So maybe let's lay the groundwork first.
Huh?
What do we actually mean by gratitude in this everyday context?
Good question. It's definitely more than just a polite thanks. At its heart, it's the appreciation for what you find valuable and meaningful.
Okay.
And this stretches far beyond tangible gifts, It includes those simple, everyday positive sunshine, a hug, the beauty of nature, a feeling of peace.
A good meal.
A good meal, yeah. Even just being alive. What's key to remember, I think, is that this feeling doesn't depend on someone else giving you something. It's more of an inner resource.
Right, it comes from inside.
Yeah, sparked by recognizing the good that's already there.
That internal aspect is so important. And as we looked at the research, we saw this distinction they make between state gratitude and trait gratitude. Could you unpack that a bit?
Sure. Think of state gratitude as that sort of temporary feeling of thankfulness you get when something specific happens. Maybe someone offers help or you see something beautiful. It's tied to an event.
Okay. Fleeting.
Yeah, kind of. Trait gratitude, on the other hand, is more like a personality characteristic, a general tendency to feel grateful often across different situations. It's more of a habitual way of seeing the world.
Like a default setting.
Sort of, yeah. And our focus on everyday gratitude aims to cultivate both, really. By intentionally noticing those small, simple joys, we enhance those momentary feelings of state gratitude.
Right.
And over time, this practice can actually strengthen our underlying trait gratitude.
Right.
It leads to a more consistently appreciative outlook, almost like building a gratitude muscle, you could say.
A gratitude muscle. I like that. Okay, so it's about those sparks of joy and building this consistent appreciation over time. Now, how does this feeling actually, take hold? What's the process in our minds?
Well, researchers Emmons and McCullough gave us a useful two-step idea. First, you need to notice that something good has happened or is present.
Just be aware of it.
Right. Second, you need to acknowledge that there's an external source for this goodness. Now, when we talk about everyday gratitude, that source might not always be a person, right?
It could be nature providing a sunrise or just circumstances aligning for a peaceful moment.
So like with a hug, you feel the comfort. That's step one.
And then step 2 is connecting it to the person giving the hug.
Yeah. For a sunset.
You see the beauty and you attribute it to, well, nature or just the way things are. Essentially, it boils down to noticing the good and acknowledging where it comes from, even if it's just, a sunny day.
That makes perfect sense. Noticing the good, acknowledging the source, so it's not just a passive feeling that washes over you.
Precisely. Gratitude is really a blend of our thoughts and feelings. The thinking part involves recognizing something positive and understanding why it's there.
The cognitive bit.
Yeah, the cognitive appraisal. And the feeling part is that sense of thankfulness or appreciation that follows. This shows us that gratitude isn't just something that happens to us. It comes from actively processing our experiences.
Okay.
And a key part of cultivating gratitude is cognitive reframing, consciously shifting our attention from the negative, maybe, to the positive, no matter how small it seems. And mindfulness must play a role here, too.
Oh, absolutely. Mindfulness helps us become more aware of those little positive experiences in the first place. It's kind of like training our brains to spot the good stuff.
Training our brains to spot the good stuff. Now, you mentioned an evolutionary perspective earlier. Why would we have, evolved to feel gratitude?
Well, some theories suggest it played a role in our social development, specifically in something called reciprocal altruism.
That you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours idea.
Exactly. That helps unrelated individuals cooperate. The thought is that feeling grateful motivates us to return kindness, and that strengthens social bonds.
Makes sense for survival.
It does. And while this often focuses on our interactions with others, the positive feeling we get from gratitude itself, may be rooted in those early social benefits, seems to have wider well-being effects, even when we're appreciating non-social things like a nice day or just simple comforts.
So the good feeling became useful in itself.
Kind of. Think of it like this. Feeling grateful when someone helps you makes you more likely to help them, or maybe someone else in the future, creating a sort of cycle of kindness.
Okay, let's really dig into this idea of well-being then. Our sources strongly highlight the uplifting impact of everyday gratitude on our mental health. Where do we see the most significant changes?
The research consistently points to a really powerful link between cultivating gratitude, especially for those small everyday positives, and a boost in our mental well-being.
Okay.
One of the clearest benefits is its ability to lift our mood and foster positive emotions. We see increases in happiness, a more positive general outlook, greater optimism, and a higher sense of overall life satisfaction.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, those important studies by Emmons and McCullough, where people kept gratitude journals, they showed significant improvements in well-being compared to groups focusing on hassles or just neutral events.
Right, the journaling studies.
And numerous reviews, meta-analyses confirm these findings. Practicing gratitude reliably leads to feeling more grateful and experiencing better mental health. It's quite consistent.
So it's more than just a temporary good mood flicker.
Absolutely. Gratitude actually seems to amplify positive emotions because it helps us really savor those good moments.
Savor them. How?
Well, it encourages us to truly appreciate the positive things and prevents us from just letting them pass by unnoticed. It helps fight against what they call hedonic adaptation.
Ah, the hedonic treadmill. Getting used to good things so they don't feel as good anymore.
Exactly that. By consciously valuing positive events, we get more enjoyment out of them and are less likely to take them for granted. This active engagement enhances feelings like joy, pleasure, enthusiasm, even alertness.
So it keeps the good feelings alive longer.
Pretty much. Like appreciating your comfy chair every day, not just when it was new.
And what about the flip side? Those negative emotions. How does gratitude affect things like worry or resentment?
Yeah, here's where it gets really interesting. Gratitude appears to act as a kind of counterweight to many negative emotions.
Like they can't coexist easily.
It seems psychologically difficult to feel genuinely grateful and, say, envious or bitter at the same exact moment. Research looking at the words people use in gratitude letters actually showed a decrease in negative emotion words.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it suggests that gratitude doesn't just add positive feelings, it might actually displace the negative ones. By focusing our attention on appreciation, gratitude occupies that mental and emotional space.
That might otherwise be filled with negative thoughts or comparison.
Exactly.
Less room for rumination.
That makes a lot of sense. It's hard to hold on to thankfulness and bitterness simultaneously. What about stress? That's something we all deal with.
Right, and gratitude acts as a really effective buffer against how stressed we feel. Studies where people practice gratitude, like through journaling, have shown significant drops in perceived stress levels.
Significant drops. Yeah, one study with healthcare workers who are often under immense pressure found a remarkable 28% decrease in perceived stress after a gratitude writing practice.
Wow, 28%. That's substantial.
It really is. And it's not just about feeling less stressed in the moment. People who are generally more grateful tend to use healthier ways of coping with challenges too.
How so?
They're more likely to actively try to solve problems, face things head on. They seek support from others more often, and they're better at finding positive ways to look at difficult situations that reframing again.
Okay.
And they're less likely to turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms like just giving up or blaming themselves.
So it helps us navigate stress in more positive ways. And our sources also highlighted a connection between gratitude and those bigger mental health challenges like depression and anxiety.
Yes, that connection is quite strong. Both having a generally grateful outlook trait, gratitude, and actively practicing gratitude are linked to fewer symptoms of both depression and anxiety.
Fewer symptoms.
Uh-huh. Reviews looking at multiple studies have shown statistically significant reductions in anxiety and depression scores after people engaged in gratitude practices. On average, around 7 or 8% reduction.
That's really encouraging. It suggests gratitude could be a valuable tool for just supporting overall mental wellness.
Exactly.
And when life throws us those inevitable curveballs, when we face really tough times, how does gratitude factor in?
Well, gratitude is a key ingredient in building resilience. That ability to bounce back from difficult experiences.
Right, resilience.
Studies on individuals who faced significant trauma, think war veterans, survivors of events like 9/11 have found that higher levels of gratitude are associated with greater resilience and lower rates of PTSD.
How does that work? How does gratitude help in trauma?
It seems to help people find meaning and strength even when things are incredibly hard. One interesting technique mentioned is remembering the bad, consciously reflecting on past difficulties you've overcome.
Contrasting the past with the present.
Exactly. That contrast can create a really deep sense of gratitude for your current situation, however imperfect. And it helps reframe those past negative experiences, highlighting your own strength in getting through them.
It's about finding strength in having overcome challenges. And how does this broader sense of gratitude contribute to our long-term well-being?
Right. And this connects really well with Barbara Fredrickson's broaden and build theory.
Ah, okay. Explain that a bit.
The theory suggests that positive emotions, like gratitude, actually widen our scope of thought and action. They encourage us to explore new ideas, engage in different activities, build stronger relationships.
Because they open us up.
Yeah. And over time, this accumulation of positive experiences and resources, psychological, social, intellectual, even physical resources, enhances our long-term resilience. It makes us better equipped to handle future difficulties.
So it's like gratitude helps us build a kind of psychological toolkit for navigating life's ups and downs.
That's a great way to put it, a psychological toolkit.
Now, you mentioned earlier that the benefits extend beyond just our mental state.
Oh.
What actually happens in our bodies when we feel grateful? Does it have a tangible physical impact?
Oh, it absolutely does. Brain imaging studies are starting to reveal the specific brain regions involved, areas like the medial prefrontal cortex and the anterior cingulate cortex.
Areas involved in social connection and emotion regulation.
Exactly. And the limbic system too, hippocampus, amygdala, handling memory and emotions, they show activity. And then down at the chemical level in the brain.
Neurotransmitters.
Yeah, gratitude seems linked to the release of neurotransmitters like dopamine, that's reward and motivation, and serotonin, which helps regulate mood.
So it gives you that little mood boost.
It does, that immediate sense of pleasure and contentment. There's even some evidence suggesting oxytocin, the bonding hormone, might be involved too.
Which would tie into the social benefits we'll get to later.
Precisely. So it's like a natural mood booster happening right there in our brains.
And can these changes in the brain, can they have longer lasting effects? Is it just temporary?
Well, what's really exciting is the potential for something called neuroplasticity.
The brain changing itself.
Right. Regularly practicing gratitude might actually strengthen the neural pathways associated with positive emotions, reward, social connection. Over time, this could lead to a more enduring tendency to feel grateful.
So the brain gets better at being grateful.
Essentially, yeah. A brain that's maybe more naturally wired towards positivity. It's like exercising a muscle. The more you use those pathways, the stronger they might become.
That's incredible. Our brains can actually change with gratitude practice. Now let's talk about sleep. So many people struggle with getting good rest.
You're right, and there's a surprisingly clear connection between gratitude and better sleep. People who report feeling more grateful tend to have better subjective sleep quality.
Meaning they feel like they sleep better.
Yeah, they report falling asleep faster, sleeping longer, experiencing fewer disturbances during the night, and waking up feeling more rested.
Why would that be?
Well, one idea is that gratitude helps quiet the mind before sleep. It leads to more positive thoughts and fewer worries.
Less pre-sleep chatter.
Exactly. Which helps us relax and drift off more easily. There's also some indication that gratitude might influence the hypothalamus, a brain region that helps regulate sleep cycles.
Better sleep. That's a huge benefit right there.
Yeah.
What about our hearts? We sometimes hear the phrase, a grateful heart. Is there any actual science behind that?
Interestingly, research is starting to show a tangible link between gratitude and cardiovascular health.
Really?
Yeah. Studies have associated higher levels of gratitude with things like lower blood pressure, a slower resting heart rate, and increased heart rate variability, or HRV.
HRV, that's a measure of like stress resilience in the heart.
Sort of. It reflects the variation in time between heartbeats. Higher HRV is generally a good indicator of a healthy, balanced nervous system and lower risk for heart problems. And some studies, particularly with individuals who had heart failure, found that keeping a gratitude journal actually led to increased HRV. That's a really positive sign for heart health.
So gratitude might actually be good for your heart physically.
It seems to help calm down the body's alarm system, the sympathetic nervous system, which can definitely benefit the heart over time.
That's remarkable. And I was really surprised to see in the sources that gratitude might even play a role in inflammation in the body.
Yes, this is a really promising, though maybe still developing, area of research. Higher levels of trait gratitude have been linked to lower levels of inflammatory markers.
Like C-reactive protein, things like that.
Exactly. CRP, TNF-alpha, IL-6. Lower levels have been seen in various groups, including people with heart conditions who are also more grateful.
And does practicing gratitude help?
Some intervention studies suggest it might. Practicing gratitude, like through journaling, has shown reductions in these inflammatory markers in individuals with heart failure and potentially even those recovering from breast cancer.
Wow. How might that work?
Well, one possible explanation involves gratitude helping to reduce reactivity in the amygdala, the part of the brain that flags threats. A calmer state in the brain might then translate downstream to less inflammation in the body.
So it seems like gratitude has this kind of ripple effect throughout our entire system.
Yeah.
Are there other physical health aspects that are connected?
Absolutely. People who are generally more grateful tend to report fewer physical symptoms, overall fewer aches and pains, things like that.
They just feel healthier.
They report feeling healthier, yeah. And they're also more likely to engage in health-promoting behaviors like exercising or eating well.
Okay.
They also report feeling less tired, less fatigued. And some research even suggests a potential link to a stronger immune system, although that's maybe less established.
Right.
And as we kind of touched on with stress, gratitude is associated with lower levels of cortisol, the main stress hormone. By helping regulate cortisol, gratitude might lessen the harmful physical effects of chronic stress on our bodies over the long haul.
This is all incredibly compelling. So knowing all these benefits, mental, physical, Elam, how can we actually bring more of this everyday gratitude into our lives? What are some practical things we can actually do?
Fortunately, there are many effective techniques, and many are quite simple to integrate. One of the most well-researched is gratitude journaling.
Writing it down.
Exactly. Regularly writing down specific things you're grateful for, and the act of physically writing, rather than just thinking about it, seems to deepen the reflection for many people.
Okay. Any tips for doing that effectively?
Yeah, a few things seem to help. Be specific rather than general. So instead of I'm grateful for my family, maybe try I'm grateful my sister called yesterday just to check in. Detail matters.
Depth over breadth, maybe.
Exactly. Depth over breadth. Get personal. Focusing on people you're grateful for often has a better impact than focusing on things. Trying mental subtraction can be powerful too.
Mental subtraction. What's that?
Imagining what your life would be like without a particular positive thing or person, it really highlights its value.
Ah, right. Makes you appreciate it more.
Definitely. Also, seeing good things as gifts, even small ones, savoring surprises, and aiming for variety in what you write about can keep it fresh.
Okay. Are there specific journaling formats?
Sure. The 3 good things exercise is popular. At the end of the day, list 3 positive things that happened, big or small, and briefly write why they happened or why they felt good.
Simple enough.
Or just counting blessings, keeping a running list. You can also specifically focus your journaling on the small joys, maybe using prompts like, what made you smile today? Or describe a pleasant sensory experience you had.
I like that focus on small joys and sensory details, the smell of rain, the feel of a soft blanket. What other practices can we easily incorporate, maybe without writing?
Mindful awareness and savoring simple pleasures are incredibly powerful and often don't require writing. Mindfulness is about paying that deliberate, non-judgmental attention to the present moment.
Just noticing.
Just noticing, yeah. This increased awareness naturally helps us spot those subtle, positive details we often overlook. You could try a simple exercise. Mindfully observe something in nature, like a flower or a leaf, Really taking in all the details, colors, textures.
Okay.
Gratitude walks are another great way. Just going for a walk with the specific intention of noticing things in your surroundings that you appreciate: the sky, a building, a friendly dog.
Combining movement and appreciation.
Right. And savoring takes it a step further. Savoring is about actively engaging your thoughts or actions to intensify and prolong the enjoyment of positive experiences.
Make the good feelings last longer.
Exactly. Whether it's something happening now, remembering a past joy, or looking forward to something, when focusing on the present, really use all your senses. Fully experience the taste of your food, the warmth of the sun, a piece of music you enjoy.
So these practices, mindfulness and savoring, they help train our attention to actually recognize the good stuff.
They do. They transform potentially past positive experiences into moments of felt gratitude by making us actively engage with them.
Okay. Any other key practices?
Well, mindful gratitude meditation is another option. Quiet reflection, focusing on sources of thankfulness, often using your breath as an anchor. Expressing gratitude verbally is huge, too.
Just saying thank you.
A sincere thank you, yeah. Acknowledging even small, everyday gestures can have a big impact on both you and the other person.
Right.
Writing gratitude letters or notes is another powerful one, detailing someone's specific actions and the positive effect they had on you. Even if you never send the letter, the act of writing it can be really beneficial.
The process itself helps.
It does, and engaging in acts of kindness or service for others can actually foster gratitude within you, the giver, by highlighting your own resources and your ability to make a positive difference.
That's an interesting angle.
Yeah.
Giving fosters gratitude.
It can, yeah. And then there are lots of other creative ways. Keeping a gratitude jar, using a gratitude rock or object as a physical reminder, visual reminders, having a gratitude buddy you share things with, expressing it through art or music. Lots of options.
That's a fantastic range. It really sounds like there's a way for almost everyone to find a gratitude practice that resonates with them and fits into their life.
I think so.
Now, how does all of this, noticing the small positives, actively practicing gratitude, how does it actually change how we see our lives and lead to, greater overall satisfaction?
It really comes down to a fundamental shift in perspective, largely through that cognitive reframing we talked about.
Changing how you think about things.
Yeah. By intentionally focusing on the positive aspects of our lives, even the seemingly small ones,
Well,
we're actively redirecting our attention away from the daily hassles and difficulties.
it's not about denying the bad stuff exists, though.
Not at all. It's not about pretending problems don't exist, but about consciously choosing where we direct our mental energy, our focus. And over time, this helps us counteract that natural negativity bias we all have. It essentially trains our brains to be more tuned in to the good.
So we start noticing the good more automatically.
That seems to be the effect. This shift in focus leads to a more optimistic way of looking at things. We start to interpret events more positively, maybe see the world as a more supportive or hospitable place. It's a real change in our habitual way of focusing.
So it's like we're retraining our brain to see the glass as, well, at least partly full, rather than automatically focusing on the empty part.
That's a good analogy, yeah. And this is also key in counteracting that hedonic adaptation we mentioned earlier.
Right, the hedonic treadmill, getting used to things.
Gratitude acts as an antidote. By consciously acknowledging the value of ongoing positives, the roof over your head, your health, relationships, we prevent ourselves from taking them for granted.
So it keeps things feeling fresh.
It helps. Regularly focusing on those small, recurring positives gives us frequent little boosts of appreciation, helping to sustain positive feelings over time rather than relying on big, infrequent events for happiness.
And practices like savoring fit in here, too.
Definitely. Savoring those simple joys helps offset the impact of daily annoyances and can even make us feel more positive about making progress towards our goals, kind of restoring our baseline happiness.
So ultimately, this combination, shifting perspective, fighting hedonic adaptation, savoring the present, this all leads to increased overall life satisfaction.
That's what the research strongly suggests, and it seems to be a reciprocal relationship, a positive cycle. Gratitude boosts how satisfied we feel with life.
And feeling more satisfied might make it easier to notice things to be grateful for.
Exactly. It builds on itself.
It's like a positive feedback loop. Now, one of the things our sources really emphasize, and you touched on it earlier, is how important gratitude is in our relationships. How does appreciating the little things our loved ones do actually strengthen those bonds?
Gratitude is a really fundamental social emotion. Some researchers call it the social glue.
Social glue, I like that.
It strengthens our connections with others. It fosters a sense of connection and interdependence by making us more aware of the support, the kindness, the benefits we receive from those around us.
Okay.
There's a great theory by Sarah Algo called the find, remind, and bind theory of gratitude in relationships.
Find, remind, and bind. Tell me more.
Okay, so find. Gratitude helps us identify potentially high-quality relationship partners because it signals that someone is responsive, caring, thoughtful. Expressing thanks to new acquaintances can actually make them more likely to want to build a relationship with you.
So it helps initiate connections.
Right. Second, remind. Gratitude reinforces the value of our existing relationships by increasing our awareness of all the positive contributions our partners, friends, or family make to our lives.
Makes us not take them for granted.
Exactly. And third, bind. Gratitude motivates us to invest in the relationship. Feeling grateful makes us want to do nice things back, and expressing gratitude makes the other person feel valued and appreciated, which reinforces their commitment too. It binds you closer together.
That find, remind, and bind framework is really insightful. And you mentioned earlier that expressing gratitude for those small, everyday gestures is particularly important in our close relationships.
Absolutely crucial. Thanking your partner for, doing the dishes or really listening when you're talking or making you a cup of tea. These might seem like minor things.
Yeah, the daily grind stuff.
Right. But these small acknowledgments prevent us from taking our loved ones for granted. They create and maintain a positive emotional climate built on mutual respect and care.
Mm.
And research suggests that specifically focusing your gratitude on their effort or their positive character traits like their kindness, their patience, their thoughtfulness can be even more impactful. It makes them feel truly seen and valued for who they are, not just what they do.
That's a great point. Focus on the person and their effort. And the research shows this links to better relationships overall.
Consistently. Feeling and expressing gratitude in relationships is linked to higher levels of satisfaction, increased feelings of closeness, greater commitment, and less instability or conflict.
Wow.
Couples who express more gratitude tend to spend more quality time together, and they communicate more effectively even when they're navigating disagreements. Feeling appreciated by your partner acts as a really powerful buffer against relationship stress.
So it's really about making sure the people we care about feel valued and seen for all the things they do, big and small.
Precisely. And it creates these positive cycles, these upward spirals in relationships. You express appreciation, they feel good, they maybe behave more positively towards you in return, which builds trust and intimacy.
A virtuous cycle. And it sounds like gratitude can also have a wider impact beyond just our close relationships, on how we treat others generally.
Yes, gratitude really does seem to foster what psychologists call pro-social behavior, basically, being helpful, generous, cooperative.
Towards anyone.
Yeah, experimental studies have shown that even just prompting someone to feel grateful for something can make them more likely to help others afterwards, even complete strangers they have no connection to.
This is fascinating. Why does that happen?
Well, several reasons. Gratitude often motivates us to want to reciprocate kindness, to pay it back. Sometimes it triggers upstream reciprocity, paying it forward to someone else entirely.
Paying it forward.
Right. And also, when we thank people for their help, it makes them feel valued and effective, which encourages them to continue being kind and helpful in the future.
And does seeing other people be grateful have an effect?
It seems so. Witnessing gratitude in action can also inspire others to be more helpful and cooperative. It contributes to a more positive, supportive social environment overall.
It really does seem like gratitude has this incredible power then to not only improve our own well-being, but also to genuinely strengthen our connections with others and maybe contribute to a slightly better world around us.
I think that's a fair summary, yeah.
Now, to really bring this home, could you share maybe a few real-world examples or stories of how everyday gratitude can make a tangible difference, especially when people are facing difficult circumstances?
Absolutely. We see countless examples of gratitude helping people navigate really tough times. When dealing with illness, for instance. Research on chronic conditions, heart failure, arthritis, cancer, diabetes shows gratitude is linked to reduced feelings of depression and anxiety, better sleep, less fatigue, and just an overall improvement in well-being for patients.
So it helps cope with the illness itself.
It helps manage the psychological burden, yeah. And there are incredibly moving personal stories, too. You hear about someone who, after a serious accident, finds this deep sense of gratitude for simply being alive, and that becomes fuel for their recovery.
Right.
People undergoing difficult medical treatments often talk about finding moments of gratitude and small acts of kindness from nurses or the support of loved ones, or even just a comfortable bed, and how those small moments provide real strength.
It doesn't erase the pain, though.
Not at all. That's crucial. It's not about ignoring the pain or difficulty, but about finding points of light and strength alongside it. Gratitude is also a vital resource during stressful life events. Studies during the COVID-19 pandemic showed that people who actively practiced gratitude reported lower levels of stress and maintained their well-being better.
And in trauma recovery, too.
Yes. As we mentioned, in the aftermath of trauma terrorist attacks, natural disasters gratitude plays a significant role in fostering resilience. There are projects like Haley Bartholomew's 365 Grateful Project, where people commit to finding and documenting one thing they're grateful for each day, even during really challenging periods.
And it changes things for them.
Reports suggest it can transform their outlook and well-being. It's about intentionally seeking out and appreciating the goodness that still exists, even when things feel incredibly dark. It's about finding the light with the pain.
Those stories are truly powerful illustrations. And what about in our more everyday lives, in our normal routines? How can we see gratitude in practice there, making the mundane better?
Well, gratitude has this wonderful ability to kind of elevate the ordinary, the mundane, by intentionally weaving small gratitude practices into our daily routines.
Like how?
Maybe starting your day by thinking of 3 specific things you're thankful for before you even get out of bed. Or linking a moment of gratitude to an existing habit, like appreciating your warm house while you wait for your coffee to brew.
Habit snacking.
Exactly. Or ending your day by reflecting on 1 or 2 good things that happened, however small. These small insertions can really shift our experience of the everyday.
Right.
You see online videos and blog posts celebrating the joy of little things, a reminder to appreciate those simple pleasures that often go unnoticed in our busy lives, like the taste of fresh fruit or a comfortable pair of shoes,
It's about transforming what might feel like just another Tuesday.
into something filled with small moments of appreciation, recognizing the quiet blessings and the ordinary opportunities and comforts we have.
It sounds like the central message here, running through everything we've discussed, is that everyday gratitude, this seemingly simple act of noticing and appreciating the small positive things in our lives, has a truly profound power.
It really does.
It cultivates well-being in so many different facets of our lives, mentally, physically, and definitely in our connections with others.
That's exactly right. And the beauty is, it's something that's accessible to pretty much all of us. It just requires perhaps a little shift in our awareness and maybe some intention.
So as we bring this deep dive to a close, we really want to encourage you, our listener, to maybe think about incorporating some of these techniques we've discussed into your own daily life.
Give it a try.
Yeah, take the opportunity to experience firsthand the benefits that can come from this simple yet actually incredibly powerful practice.
And maybe on that note, here's one final thought for you to ponder. What is one small, positive thing that you might have overlooked in your day-to-day that you can now take just a moment to appreciate? And perhaps consider how intentionally focusing on such seemingly insignificant moments day after day might begin to subtly shift your overall outlook on your life.